the doors off the Lakers on Sunday, 143-120. And it looks like new addition Tobias Harris is fitting in just fine. So fine, in fact, some have wondered whether or not this lineup, this team, can compete with the league's best. LeBron James was asked if you can compare the Sixers to the Warriors.
That's two different teams, two different makeups. Golden State is a well-oiled machine, and they've been that for the last 5 years. They've added KD, and he fit in perfectly to that puzzle piece. This team has been together for a couple years, but they've added, some key pieces to their team just recently. If you talk about Jimmy and you talk about Tobias now, Mike Scott is going to be part of that rotation, as it seems, and Big Boban as well. So we have to see. No one knows. We have to see. And we can't compare, for any team right now to Golden State, because they've just been together for so long.
All right, Antoine, what do you think about these two teams? How well do the Sixers match up with the Warriors?
I think they match up with them from
Man, stop.
I think they do.
I
think it's one mismatch. I'm gonna tell you, it's one mismatch. I think Steph Curry has a unique advantage, because now you got to play JJ Redick on him, and JJ can't guard him off the dribble. Nope. Not that great in pick and roll. He's a chaser.
I will try to help you out. What if you just put JJ on Draymond?
But then there's still one mismatch.
Then you can switch them. You can still swch.
There's still.
Go ahead.
No, I'm just. That's the only mismatch. I like everything else, because now you can switch 1 through 5, and they can do that with Philly. Most teams that play Golden State are not able to switch 1 through 5. Well, Steph is getting the opportunities to take on the big, and even though Joel Embiid cannot step out and guard Steph, but he can actually step out and move his feet. So it makes for a different matchup. And then Cousins is not that guy in the middle like a Clint Capella who's going to dive to the basket and dunk it. He moves a little slower, so you'll be able to get back to him. So they match up really well with them, because they can switch just as much. But they do have that one advantage, though. That Steph Curry over JJ Redick advantage is strong.
It's enormous. And it was, when we were discussing this earlier, the point that I made is, for the Sixers side, there's one distinct advantage. Joel Embiid's offense against Boogie Cousins. Because I do not think Boogie's a quality defender. I don't think that's ever been who he is. We have seen how dominant Joel Embiid is, and what Boogie can do is lean on you, try to use some size, but can't, and no leaning on Joel Embiid. He's 3 inches taller and 50 or 40 pounds heavier. So that is an enormous advantage for the Sixers. But the flip side is they got no answer for Steph. They got none. And if they try to change things, like you were saying, see, all right, so we're going to put JJ on Draymond and just trust that Draymond's not going to take him down and use a size advantage. Fine. So we got JJ on Draymond. All right, so then we're going to put Jimmy Butler on Steph. Okay, so that's what we're going to do. So Ben Simmons, he guarding KD. So, all right, so that leaves Tobias Harris on Klay Thompson. I don't love that. Like he's an easier guard because he's not dribbling the ball too much. He's not dribbling the ball, but it is putting, and I understand Klay's probably not going to beat you off the dribble much at all, to your point. But there is one guy on each team that the other team doesn't have a great matchup for, because it's the guy on each team that nobody in the league's got a great matchup for. Nobody's got a great matchup for Steph. Nobody's got a great matchup for Embiid.
I just think I think, Nick, you like to make lists. We can go through the top 3 NBA teams in history, and you can match them up against the Warriors, and our arguments would be very, very similar.
Sure.
That's how good the Warriors are. Absolutely. I wasn't trying to debate, killing the 76ers.
No, I'm not killing the 76ers.
But Golden State is really special and presents, no matter what era, they present a number of problems for any team.
I like Klay Thompson, but I think you can go, if you got to make an adjustment, I'll put JJ Redick on Klay Thompson and let him chase. Klay Thompson's not going to post him up that much. He may do it a couple times in the game. That's not going to hurt you. Now you go with Jimmy on Steph, which you want to have your best defender on there. Now Tobias Harris, you put him on KD. And not saying, obviously we know KD's got an distinct advantage, but he's another guy who's going to work hard. He's not going to bully him. He's going to try to defend him. And then you got Jeff Ennis coming off the bench. I don't know what's going on with Jonathan Simmons. Well, I don't know if he's been hurt early in the year. If you get him back, now you got another body to throw at KD, because you got to be able to put multiple to me and Steph. if you're the Philadelphia 76ers.
Well, where these two teams are similar also is they have the two best starting fives in basketball and a lot of question marks on the bench. If you're the Warriors, like Sean Livingston, I know it's going to come playoff time. He's going to shoot that herky-jerky 8-footer where it looks like his arm dislocates. He's going to shoot 85% on him. But, like, that is Sean Livingston as your #1 backup guard is a question mark. Andre Iguodala. Every year, it seems like he has a different, slight postseason tweak, but then every year in the finals, he makes a big play.
He's starting to turn on now.
Absolutely. He knows how to moderate his workload to peak at the end of the season. But after that, like, the Warriors' most consistent bench player this year has been Jonas Jerebko. But that has been the last few years. They've been thin on the bench. For the Sixers, you mentioned it. It's a lot of question marks. It's T.J. McConnell's your backup guard, who's been good for them. It's Korkmaz as your backup wing. Jonathan Simmons, who we'll see. He got 1 minute in his first game with them. And then there's Mike Scott. There's Boban for a few minutes a night. Like, when you build teams like this, the Warriors, it's been over more time. The Sixers, it's immediate. It's been in the short term. But you are going to be very top-heavy. Neither of these teams, let me rephrase it. Both of these teams, the math is totally different with one injury. Even the Warriors, as talented as they are, we know one injury changes it. And the Sixers, they don't have the depth to deal with an injury to any of these players.
Antoine, are the Sixers, though, the only team that could eventually become the Warriors that are presently constituted in the NBA right now? Could you look at them and say, if they learn how to play together and they stay healthy and they all stick around in Philly, this team could become the Warriors in a few years?
Another team in the East that probably can get to that level, I mean, we talked about them earlier, is the Celtics. Because they have multiple guys that can score the basketball. They're young. They can do some different things offensively that other teams cannot do. But I don't know if they're going to buy into that. And they have a finisher, a real finisher, a guy who's done it on the big stage at the biggest time, and Kyrie Irving. Where they, even though Steph Curry, as good as he is, they have the mismatch because now Steph has to play some defense.
I would go with Milwaukee. They got the best player. If you get one other superstar, because Golden State, we're never going to see a team like that. So you're either trying to get 2 or 3 guys together. Giannis and another superstar in Milwaukee could be appealing.
No team, past, present, or future, will ever be this Warriors team. You've got your best player and your second best player, argue who they want. They're both going to finish their career top 20 all-time guys, maybe top 15 all-time guys. Your third best player is the second greatest shooter in the history of basketball. Your fourth best player is a defensive player of the year. And your fifth best player is an all-NBA caliber center. Like, no team ever. You go back to the Celtics when there's only 8 teams and they had 7 Hall of Famers. They didn't have a unit like this. And I appreciate you repping for the green today. We need a little more of that on this show.
All right, Antoine, stick around. Coming up, who should the Lakers be targeting this offseason? Magic Johnson has an idea. Wait till you hear what that is next on First Things First.
I'll tell